Hello everyone and welcome to The Beauty Shaman. So I am back today with the incomparable Ben Fuchs from Truth Treatment Skincare, because every time we talk and every time we film what we talk, it always gets a lot of comments. People love to hear from you. And so today what I thought I'd do is talk about vitamin C. That's going to be our first subject here. Vitamin C is a huge topic.
Huge.
But there's a lot of misunderstandings around it. And so what I would talk about is, why is it such a big topic? What do we need to know? But let's just start off why. Why is vitamin C so important?
Do you know it's the most searched for term in all of skincare?
Really?
Vitamin C.
So does that mean people are confused, or what is,
It means people are confused, people are interested.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. Vitamin C is, the technical name for vitamin C is ascorbic acid. The scorb part of ascorbic acid refers to scurvy. When you put A in front of a word, that means without.
Oh, interesting.
Right? Like atypical means not typical.
Right.
So A in front of a word means without. So ascorbic acid means without scurvy. Because vitamin C's claim to fame is it's the anti-scurvy vitamin. So you say, what the heck's that got to do with anything? What the heck's that got to do with skincare? Everything. Because all of the things we hate about our skin as they get older are really the signs, or similar to the signs, of scurvy. In fact, aging itself is a sort of scurvy. If you look at the symptoms associated with scurvy, there are things like bone thinning and poor wound healing and ruptures and hernias, and all of the things that are associated with scurvy are very similar to the things that happen as we get older. So in a way, aging, wrinkles, thinning skin, all the things we hate about our skin as it gets older is a type of scurvy. Vitamin C is the anti-scurvy vitamin. Vitamin C protects against scurvy, and because it protects against scurvy, it protects against wrinkles, it protects against thinning skin, it protects against dry skin, it protects against age spots. Pretty much, it's an overall skin protective vitamin. In fact, it is the quintessential skin protective vitamin.
But you can't, go ahead.
In fact, it's the quintessential skin protective ingredient. Not just vitamin, but ingredient. There's no more important ingredient that you can put on your skin for anti-aging, for moisturizing, for keeping the skin soft, healthy, youthful than vitamin C. That makes it really exquisitely important for
But it's not like you can take a vitamin C oil and rub it on your skin and get the same results. So there's something particular about it, right?
This accounts for the confusion associated with vitamin C. Vitamin C is not vitamin C is not vitamin C.
Right.
There's different types of vitamin. A rose is not a rose is not a rose, like that. I think that's how it went.
Something like that.
Something like that. The point is, there's different forms of vitamin C. The cheap form of vitamin C is the kind most companies work with, and that's called ascorbic acid. And this is the form of vitamin C that most people take when they take a vitamin C supplement, which is fine if you're taking a vitamin C supplement. But the skin has different requirements than the internal milieu of the body. Things that work inside the body don't necessarily work on the skin. Things that work on the skin don't necessarily work inside the body. So the molecule, the vitamin C molecule, or the ascorbic acid molecule, while it's perfect and it works fine inside the body, doesn't work very well on the surface of the skin. That's because the skin is designed, in fact, its main reason is to keep water in and to keep water out. It's a water barrier. Human beings evolved out of the ocean, and as we came out of the ocean, so we wouldn't desiccate, we wouldn't dry, we wouldn't have any moisture because we came out of the ocean, evolution decreed that we'd have a barrier on the surface of the skin that would keep all the water in and keep all the water out. So if you, God forbid, were to get third-degree burns, you go to the burn ward, you don't die from the burn, you die because you desiccate. Right. You dry out, you lost that barrier, and they have to cover you up with Vaseline and all kinds of goop to keep you from drying out.
Right.
At the same time, when it rains and you walk outside, you don't dissolve into a puddle on the ground because the water beads up on the surface of the skin.
So the problem is getting it in your skin, right?
Exactly.
So you can't just put on the...
That's just one problem.
Right.
So one problem with ascorbic acid is it doesn't go through the surface of the skin very well. Right. Second problem with ascorbic acid is it's very unstable. It breaks down quickly, and it breaks down quickly in the presence of oxygen, the air, and it breaks down quickly in the presence of water in a formula. So between water in a formula and air, and light for that matter, ascorbic acid is very unstable, and it's hard to get it to last long enough to do its effects. Then on top of all of that, it doesn't penetrate through the skin very effectively. And then, if you want to really start piling on the poor ascorbic acid molecule, it's drying. It's an acid, and it tends to have a drying effect. So it's drying, it's unstable, it doesn't penetrate very effectively, but it's an important molecule. You got to get it down past the surface of the stratum corneum. And this is another very important point. When we look at the skin, it doesn't look like it's layered. In fact, I don't even know what non-skincare professionals really think when they see the skin. I mean, what is this thing anyway? You know, it's not just a covering; it's an organ, right? So anyway, it's stratified, which means it's layered, like baklava. I tell people, right? You know, baklava has all these layers, but your skin has layers too. The viable cells, the living cells, are relatively deep in the organ. They're relatively deep at the lower levels. The basal layer, the squamous layer. On top of these viable or living cells, you have lots of dead stuff. Now, if your vitamin C is going to work, it can't work at the level of the dead stuff because it's dead. You've got to have it work at the level of the viable or the living cells, which are located deep. So we've got to access those cells, and that means penetration becomes important. Ascorbic acid isn't going to give you much penetration, but vitamin C is important. We know vitamin C is important. So what do? You've got to figure out a way to link a fat molecule to the vitamin C molecule, and then the vitamin C molecule, the ascorbic acid, can piggyback. It can ride along the fat molecule to the lower levels.
So on its own, it's not going to do much.
Not going to do.
So just seeing ascorbic acid in the ingredient deck doesn't necessarily mean.
It doesn't mean it's going to penetrate. It doesn't mean you're going to have effects. And even worse, it'll turn brown inside the bottle.
Right.
That's oxidation. So it's cheap. That's the one good thing about ascorbic acid. It is very cheap. But it's not really very effective, and it's unstable. And even worse, when an antioxidant, vitamin C is an antioxidant, becomes a pro-oxidant, it can accelerate aging. It can actually oxidize the skin.
Wow.
So it's counterproductive. It can accelerate aging. It doesn't penetrate. It's unstable. It's drying. There's a lot of downsides to this stuff, but yet vitamin C is very important. And that's what makes fat-soluble vitamin C, in my opinion, the single most important ingredient you can use on your skin on a daily basis. You get all the benefits of vitamin C, plus you get penetration, plus you get stability, plus you get softening and moisturizing.
How do you know if that fat-soluble ingredient is in the ascorbic acid that you see in the ingredient deck? How are you going to know? You
have to see the ingredient. There's only two forms of fat-soluble vitamin C, and this is where becoming an ingredient reader becomes important. Yes. We always want to read ingredients. Reading ingredients for the consumer is respecting the skin.
Yes.
And reading and using ingredients for the manufacturer or the formulator is respecting the client.
Right.
So between respecting the client and respecting your skin, you got to understand ingredients. As a formulator, you got to understand the ingredients you're using in the product. As a client, you got to understand the ingredients you're using on the skin. So ingredients are chemicals, and so it's a little overwhelming.
Yeah.
People tend to be overwhelmed, and sometimes people don't even want to look at the ingredient deck because it's overwhelming.
Well, I can speak from experience. I've looked at ingredient decks, and it's, there's 50, right? And you're
horrible.
like, I can't pronounce 90% of them, which is always a bad sign.
It's always a bad sign.
Even if you're in the grocery store and you're looking at anything in the grocery store, food, and it's got 50 ingredients, just put it back.
Exactly.
Right? And it's similar with
skincare,
although you do need a little bit more education with skincare, I think.
A little bit more education. As a formulator, there are certain red flags that I have. When I look at an ingredient deck, I always look at ingredient decks because I'm a formulator, and there's certain red flags that I have that indicate to me that a formulation is not done intelligently or that it's not done consciously, where the company that's producing the product is not really paying attention to the client's skin or to the formulation themselves. And one of those red flags is a long ingredient deck.
Right.
If I see more than 10 ingredients or 11 ingredients on a product, why? What's the purpose? You have a cocktail of all kinds of different things that you're putting on your skin. Do you really know what's doing what? Do you know how they're interacting on your skin, all these different ingredients? Do you know how they're interacting inside the bottle, all these different ingredients? You want to look for short ingredient decks. We have some products that have 5 ingredients. I mean, some products have 3 ingredients and 4 ingredients. Some of the products that we have that have more ingredients have like 9 ingredients or 10 ingredients. But we stay away from long ingredient decks. But to answer your question, what do you look for?
Yeah, okay? What do you look for?
There's 2 forms of vitamin C that are fatty vitamin C. So when I talk about vitamin C being fatty, what I'm talking about is the ascorbic acid molecule being linked to a fat. And that linkage, or that fat that's being linked, is usually something called palmitic acid. Palmitic acid is a fatty acid, and it is the most common fatty acid that's found in your skin. So it's a very skin-friendly fatty acid. One of the key points in formulation is when something is recognized by the skin, it has a tendency to penetrate more effectively. It's almost as if the skin says, welcome home. I know who you are. You're friendly. And this is why when I'm selecting ingredients, and I always select my ingredients very consciously and very intentionally, I'm always looking for ingredients that are either mimics of or analogous to things in the skin. That way I'm assured that I'm going to get penetration and responsiveness because the skin's not stupid. It's not going to take things in that are wildly unfamiliar to it or that have a chemical structure that it doesn't recognize. Palmitic acid is so nice because it's familiar to the skin. And not only is it familiar, not only does the familiarity make it friendly to the skin and kind to the skin, but the familiarity lends itself to penetration.
Right.
So when you take palmitic acid, this fat that's already found in the skin, it's very familiar to the skin, and link it up to ascorbic acid, which is also found in the skin, you have a perfect marriage. You have a perfect power couple. You got palmitic acid, which is friendly. It's a fatty acid. It's already found in the skin, and it's got some skin softening and skin moisturizing properties on its own. And now you got ascorbic acid, which stimulates collagen production, which is important for wound healing, important for anti-aging, for thickening the skin, for producing moisture factors, for improving the skin barrier. It's an incredible multifunctional molecule. You link them together, and you get something called, it's a mouthful.
Go ahead.
Ascorbyl palmitate.
Okay.
And that's the thing, there's three parts there. There's the ascorb, ascorb without scurvy, that's your vitamin C. Whenever you see ascorb, A-S-C-O-R-B, ascorb, that's vitamin C. The YL, ascorbyl, is a link, it's a bridge, it's a connecting molecule, or a connecting portion. And then the palmitate, ascorbyl palmitate. Ascorb, ill is the bridge.
Say that 5 times fast.
It's not that hard.
Ascorbyl.
Go
ahead, I got it.
Palmitate, it's not that hard.
Palmitate. Ascorbyl palmitate. Okay.
There you go.
Awesome.
You're a chemist. Ascorbyl
Yeah, there you
palmitate.
go.
The second, and that's a really nice form. But then there's a super premium form where you don't just have one palmitate. You got 4 palmitates. Remember, palmitate's going to give it a fattiness and an ability to penetrate, as well as stability and a moisturizing, an ability to moisturize. So ascorbyl palmitate is great, and I love it. I use a lot of it. But the premium form of vitamin C, of fatty vitamin C, is got 4 palmitates. It's called ascorbyl, remember ascorbyl, tetra-isopalmitate. Tetra means 4, right?
Right.
Ascorbyl tetra-isopalmitate, and that's the super deluxe form. That's the best. In fact, that is the single best ingredient anybody could ever put on their skin, and I use a lot of it. In fact, our Truth Transdermal C serum has almost 80%.
That's awesome.
It's almost all ascorbyl tetra-isopalmitate.
And that's why I think you see such quick results.
Quick results,
Yeah.
and in small doses.
Right.
And that's what I'm always looking for. When I'm formulating, I'm looking to give my client the most bang for their buck. I don't want my client to have to smear a lot of stuff on their skin because at the end of the day, I'm a pharmacist.
Right.
I'm not a beauty professional.
Right.
In fact, I'm not even looking at beauty. Beauty is almost like what they call an epiphenomena. It comes along with it.
Right.
My goal is health. And I don't want my consumer or my client or my patient to have to put a lot of stuff on their skin. When you go to the drugstore and you get an antibiotic, say you're sick, you got a cold, do you say to yourself, I'm really, really sick. I'm going to take all 30 of these.
Right.
I'm going to guzzle them all because I want to get better fat. You never say that. Why? Because every little antibiotic that you're taking is packed. It's powerful. It's potent. You take one pill, you take it 3 times a day. The dose becomes important. And that's how I'm looking at my formulations. I want my formulations to be like medicine. Not drugs, not pharmaceutical medicine, but medicine that is going to actually have a therapeutic effect on your skin. And the same way that you take one amoxicillin or one beta blocker or one calcium channel blocker, you take it 3 times a day or 4 times a day or twice a day, you take it like a dose. You don't just swallow it willy-nilly and not paying attention to how much medicine you're taking. That's how skincare should be. If it's really potent and it's really therapeutic and it's really medicinally valuable, it's going to be the kind of product that you only need 1 drop of, or 2 drops of, or 3 drops of.
And that honestly is what I love about your products, is that you just need such a small amount.
Exactly.
And kind of to wrap up here, I think that the important thing is that women, or just anybody who's going to use skincare, really learns how to not only read a deck, but what specifically you're looking for, and say it again as
you say it.
I can't say it. Go ahead.
Palmitate, right?
Palmitate.
Acerbic. Think scurvy.
Scurvy.
Ascorbyl without scurvy. Ascorbyl without scurvy. Ascorbyl palmitate.
Ascorbyl palmitate.
And say the next one. Say the other one. You're not good.
I can't do it.
Ascorbyl tetra 4 iso palmitate.
All right, now you guys remember that, because
Yeah.
this is really super important.
It is.
And it's very basic too, because when you look at a deck on anything, you can know, okay, there it is. And also lower the amount of ingredients in that deck.
Yes.
So I really appreciate you talking about all this. I think
Thank
this is
you.
super important, and it really does help you as consumers, me as a consumer, to know what am I buying, what is the valuable thing I really need to be looking for. Just get away from the hype, get away from the pretty 12-year-old who's modeling it, right? Like really look at what's in the deck.
Respect your skin,
Right.
and respect the formulation, and become an intelligent consumer. Be an ingredient
right.
reader.
And I really agree with that. Thanks for watching, and please take all of these tips to heart when you shop for skincare. Thank you for joining us.